Alrighty, hey there, Laker fans. Welcome to another episode of Lakers Detailed. I am your host, Vinay, with my co-host, Lakers reporter Raj. Raj, the Lakers have an awesome, spectacular win against the OKC Thunder today in a game where they set a franchise record for most threes made by the team. But I don't even think that's the whole story of everything that they did today. But they played a fantastic game. They win a big game um, against OKC in OKC, and they sort
Mhm.
of start their road trip off with a win. And I think everybody's doing seeding watch. The Nuggets lost. The Rockets just beat the Warriors. So now the Lakers are they just need to win 2 out of the remaining games, and they can clinch the 3 seed. I am in great spirits, my friend. How are you doing? How are you feeling right now?
That was an incredible game. Vinay, this game started Oklahoma City favored by 9 points, I believe, in this one, which essentially, like in NBA terms, is they're supposed to kick your ass. Like a
Yeah.
9 point spread, especially, I was kind of shocked with everyone healthy. And my God, we got a Luka Doncic
Masterclass.
masterclass, as the kids say, just an absolute absurd attack, a guy who raises his level of play in the bigger the game is. I have some reckless Austin Reeves takes that I will not release until until the time is ready. But that was just an amazing game and one that I was floating for most of that. Lakers held on to a lead the whole time. I think the
Yes.
closest OKC got was 13 off of Chet Holmgren layup. But it was funny. We've on this pod we've discussed the Thunder matchup a lot
Mhm.
and how that matchup is a lot based on theory versus like on paper versus reality. And we'll get into the details of it. But I thought interesting kind of wrinkle was watching, like, obviously they have all these players that, are going to be on first team all defense, Lou Dort,
Yeah.
Kason Wallace, Alex Caruso, all these guys you can kind of put in there. Watching Luka just get all of them off of them with one screen, it was like, then what's the point? And Luka kind of was able to hunt Holmgren and Hartenstein. But no, I'm in great spirits, man. That was an amazing game after a really good win at home as well. Kind of get a win streak built here, and yeah, we'll see how it goes. But yeah, excited, bro. We beat the
Yeah.
best team in the league and destroyed them on their home floor.
Yeah. I thought today, like, so just thinking across like the different themes of what led to this win, right? Like the first one, the core one was obviously the shooting. The Lakers were shooting crazy from three. They were knocking down everything. And the funny part was like a lot of people were like, "Oh, this is fake. This is fake." Like the Lakers are just catching. This is just a game where the Lakers are making their shots. It's not the norm for them. And look, to be fair, that is fair. With us going 10 for 15 in the first half is definitely an outlier sort of game. But at the same time, Raj, like you and I have seen games where some guy who's like a 19% 3-point
Right,
shooter makes goals like 7 for 8 against us.
right,
And
right.
we'll be like, all right, dude, what? And what
Mhm.
do people say? These are NBA level players. You
Right,
can't leave them open. And we were just fortunate that contested, uncontested, whatever it was, the Lakers players were knocking down shots. We get another game where Gabe Vincent knocks down a bunch of threes. DFS knocks down a bunch of threes. They come off the bench, and when they're knocking down threes, that is huge for the team because that really makes it helps carry the bench offensively. It's less of a burden on Luka. But there's a theme I want to talk about. Let's take the shooting aside. Okay, we'll say okay, you know what?
mm,
Let's say it's an outlier game for shooting. I want to talk about the conversation of control, like controlling the pace specifically.
mm,
I thought that the Lakers did an excellent job controlling the pace of this game. And one of my concerns, something that you and I have always talked about, is we hate it when they're walking the ball up the court, because when they walk the ball up the court off of makes and misses, you're basically letting the opposing team get set. And I know Braun is 40, Luka's a little bit out of shape, whatever it might be. But like it always when you play them, sometimes you can play medium pace, sometimes you have to play a little bit faster. And I thought the Lakers did a really great job always continually trying to play a little bit faster than that medium pace, medium-ish, like whatever is slower than fast. And I thought that made a huge difference. And I think there are moments in the game where it's like, now we're going shot for shot. with the opposing team. Like we have a 10-point lead. They're making shots now. Now we're
Mhm.
making shots. I thought the fact that they never went to the other than maybe a small stretch, alluding to that Chet Holmgren run that they went on. Outside of that stretch, as long as they kept that pace at somewhere between medium and fast, like they were always creating advantages. Talk to me about what you saw with like the pace of the game and what LeBron and Austin and Luka were all doing in that respect.
It's funny you just said Luca's kind of out of shape. I would love to like ask Mark Dagenau if Luca was out of shape, like just in terms of the way his comments would be on that. No, that I think that's the advantage that you get with this, big three is that you have all three. And Luca, I think, is one of the best ever. And again, I would implore anyone, if you have not yet, the Lakers have one home game left and, playoffs are coming. Go watch them in person. You get a real kind of appreciation for how pace is controlled. We both grew up watching or, watch Kobe, in terms of that, in terms of being able to control pace. LeBron does it as well. And we just got another guy, Vinay, that just understands time, score, who just got picked on, and like in terms of just understanding every single matchup on the floor. And again, on that first quarter, again, you can call the shooting fake, whatever you want. 8 of those threes were from Austin and Luka,
Yeah.
So like Austin, who I think just set the Laker record for most threes in 2 games. His 3-point percentage has gone to another level. Luka. A lot of those threes, again, are just stuff that you can't do anything with, that you just have to live with. Like step back threes, if you're going to switch against him, are shots that you're going to have to give up. But there's a little bit of tempo. There was an intentionality with what they were doing.
Yes.
There was just a focus and intensity that they can get to, which again, it's tough to do this every night, Vinay. And I think in Golden State, they had it. It's just, that was a matchup that kind of hunted, and Luka maybe had his worst game as a Laker. He was 6 for 19 or whatever it was.
Yeah.
Just
by far one of his worst. Yeah.
Right. And just was extremely struggled from the floor. But tonight, again, this is the number 1 defense in the league, and they had no answers, honestly. And they start a plethora of defensive wings. They picked him up full court. OKC has a "we're not blitzing you" type of ego, and you see it in their defense. But Vinay, this is kind of what happens when you don't, and this is kind of the stuff that Luka's able to score on. And to your point with the pace, I thought it was just magical how Luka went to the bench, and now you deal with Austin Reeves, and he came in, hit his first 3-pointers as well. They tried some drop coverage against him, and he scored. LeBron had a pretty relaxed game, I thought, and we both have kind of thrown away the third option name, but I think this is kind of a blueprint in terms of, LeBron went for 19 points. Obviously, he could have turned it up if the game was closer. But I thought this was kind of the blueprint, Vinay, of Luka kind of controls the game and everyone else kind of works out of that. And I thought OKC showed kind of what mismatches that the Lakers can create against them. And they're a problem, man. These shots go in. I trust Dorian as a playoff shooter. I trust Gabe to an extent as a streaky 3-point shooter. Rui wasn't even that hot, really. Dalton came in, hit his 3, but really didn't get any minutes. Jordan Goodwin didn't make a 3 on the night. The fake shooting is from 2 guys, Vinay. They're going to get a lot of 3-point attempts. So we'll see if they can build on it Tuesday. But to your point, just an incredible controlled game, wire to wire, which is just super impressive against a team that was pushing for 70 freaking wins this year, and you tore them up healthy.
Yeah, and I think that was like one of the biggest, like one of the first takeaways I had from the game, especially in the first half, was the way that the Lakers could. I think you get the quality of those threes and the quality of the looks that Luka also gets because of that tempo that they were playing with. Like that was huge. Like we were talking about this. I was on the shout out to the guys, the coaches didn't play back. I was on their early game today, so I joined them on there, and I was at every shot. There's a clip that's floating. I think the Coach James Burner account posted it of that pass that Luka made to Gabe Vincent over the
behind the head.
I'm watching that play live, and I was just like, "What?" Like it's in the clip, but I'm literally like, "What?" Like because I was like, "What just happened?" I thought he lost it. Like when he threw the pass, I thought he went to grab it and he lost it, and then it ends up in Gabe's hands, and Gabe makes the 3, and I just started cackling because I was just like, "Bro, this is." And then they showed the side angle, because you can't see it from the front side angle.
Right.
I was just like, this is ridiculous. Like Luka was in a groove, in a playmaking groove, to the point where he's throwing. Raj, he went to the corner of where the screen is being set up, which is like you're actually blowing up the offensive off-ball possession by doing that, and still manage to get the pass to Gabe Vincent, who ends up knocking it down. But they played with a lot of intention. I thought
Yeah.
the Lakers had decided, or whatever the game plan was beforehand. JJ may have told Braun, Austin, and Luka, we're going after this guy. We're not going to match up hunt to get to him. We're going to get to him within 3 seconds. Like, we're going to do whatever we have to do. Like, they would play Hartenstein, or they played Chet, or whoever it was, whoever they wanted to take, they play him like on Vando. And Vando would come and screen hard and then rim run hard and just create the separation immediately. So, that's one part of it. The other part is like, now we're not dribbling around and wasting time. Like, Luka, you go now. Like, if you're going to drive now. Don't drive when there's only 4 seconds left because the clock's working against you. Like, controlling the pace is one thing, but playing with the intention to, JJ uses that term when you start the blender, like when players get into the blender. Like, that's why I've been trying to tweet it out. They mentioned it. I think Steve Nash mentions it on Mind the Game, on the Mind the Game pod. Like, my whole thing is start the blender early. Like, don't let the defense decide when that blender is supposed to start. Just start it early, because as soon as you start it, they don't know what to do. And when you play against teams like OKC, where they do have great athletes, they do have all defensive players, but you beat them with speed, in the sense that you force them to have to make decisions before they're ready to make decisions. And I thought the Lakers did a really, really good job. And then even when that didn't happen, when Luka got the matchup he wanted, he was awesome, bro. He finally hit that freaking floater, the right-handed floater that we've been waiting for him to hit. He kept shorting it against the Warriors. Oh my God. I would say this New Orleans game, the first shift he plays, he goes like 0 for 7.
Yeah.
He takes the sleeve off of the non-shooting hand, and then all of a sudden, all of his shots are going in. So maybe there was something to that. I don't know, but talk to me about the intention.
No, it's funny because against the Pelicans, where they have me seated is like behind the bench area. So, and he's one of those guys that doesn't hide his emotions at all. Like, it's completely just dripping on his face, right? So he's 0 for 7, and he comes to the bench like, God. It's like, damn, like, just knowing that he's supposed to make it, and then he ends up with 35 points, leads the team in scoring, right? Just goes off. I want to ask you, so Jackson Hayes tonight plays 12 minutes.
Yeah.
He plays, I believe, 3 or 8 minutes in the first half, whatever it is. But OKC is a big team. It's a big ball club, at least from their forward and from their center. They start Chet Holmgren and Isaiah Hartenstein, 2 very talented defensive bigs. And yet we were able to get dribble penetration. We were able to get kick out threes. What was the difference for you from there? Because we've talked about the struggle when you play a 5-out system, how it's hard to kind of get attacks to the rim. And it felt like, at least in my opinion, I'll let you answer, I thought Luka just put his head down. It's like, I'm not settling. Like, I'm getting to the rim. You're not stopping me. Like, the guys at the rim aren't stopping me. Once I get by the center, because you're switching and you have to honor all of our shooting on the floor, I'm getting by you. I'm getting to the rim. He had the flip shot. He had a and one floater. He had the little floater that you mentioned.
Bro, Luka gets like 4 inches off the floor. He had like an up and under. Like,
yeah.
I was like, all right, man. Like, you can't even get off the ground. You guys let him get this off. Like, that's what I mean. Like, he was in a good group. To answer your question, the thing that the Lakers did different today, again, with the intention, because they were doing it with intention, you got Braun post-ups. We got so many post-ups from Braun that weren't middle. Like, they didn't do the face-up basketball stuff or the mid-court basketball stuff until the fourth quarter, where Braun was kind of like eating up clock and setting up his turnaround jumpers. I would say the first 3 quarters, a lot of Braun's the start of his plays, they weren't pick and roll plays. They weren't isolation face-up plays. A couple of them might have been, but a lot of them were, hey, Braun's going to go into the deep post on that left-hand side or right-hand side block. Austin's going to throw the entry pass to him, and then Braun's going to basically decide what he wants to do with the ball at that point. I think that was their way of offsetting, offsetting Jackson not being on the floor. We're not going to run pick and roll. We're not going to give you the chance to switch this. We're not going to give you the chance to, like, basically, like what the Warriors were doing, where they kind of junk up the route for Jackson. We're just going to give it to our best player in the post, and we know he's really good in the post. And, by the way, he's also an all-world, all-galaxy passer, and he can read the floor. And I think they did a really, really good job taking that. So you had Austin downhill face up, Luka downhill face up, but then you got Braun in the post. And it's just to highlight this message from George. Like he's saying, I got vindicated today. Vinay gets vindicated today when LeBron truly became the bridge of this game, managed the defense, and sealed the deal in the fourth with jumpers. I will say, like, thanks for the message, George. The other thing I would also say is Braun was the
Oof.
pressure on the rim, like early, like in because of his post-up action. Even if he didn't attempt the shots, he still forces them to have to respect him in that regards. So I don't know if this is going to be the norm for Jackson. Like he gets 8 minutes or 6 minutes and only gets a few shifts. Maybe it depends on what the opposing team does. But I think the Lakers' alternate plan is when we take Jackson off the floor, we're going to post up with Rui. We saw them try to post up Steph with Rui. We're going to post up with Braun. But again, their execution with intention was so good today that it looked fantastic. And I wish we had that execution against the Warriors because we probably win that game. And rebounding was probably a big part of that too as well. But that's what it looked like to me. I thought that made a lot of sense with the way they played.
Yeah. I think, my theory on Jackson, Vinay, is he's a guy that JJ doesn't trust mentally to like be in, because I think Jackson's super talented. It's just he'll have fouls where it's like, man, there was no need to do that. Or, he puts his hand down at the last minute. OKC is a team that tests your mental edge. Like even when you're up 20, right? As a fan, you're watching going, this is a team that can easily run off 13 straight points just with the talent that they have. But I think they're going to go with the small ball look. And I think you're right. They're finding stuff where they can pressure the rim. Rui's post up, you mentioned LeBron in the post, feels like the happy medium and the bridge, as the word we like to use in terms of it really connects Luka and LeBron, Austin LeBron. By the way, Luka set his first ball screen today that I've seen in like 3 years. Luka set one for Gabe where he like hit a pull up three, and Luka actually called for it. But LeBron being able to attack the rim, and I just want to give Rui credit. What a defensive game! He got like five death stares from LeBron, and just some public humiliation stuff where I think Rui forgot to box out, and LeBron was telling him like, "Hey, you got to box out, man," and and Rui ignores it. But
I will say that as I have seen players that require that kind of reinforcement. I think fans, when we watch it, this is the way I always characterize it. And I don't think Rui has an issue with it because he probably realizes sometimes he makes mistakes and he needs the help sometimes. I think it's a really great thing. It speaks to the bridge part of LeBron, that he's a defensive communicator in that respect. And then the other thing is there are just some players around the league that require their star player to be like, can't be doing that.
Lock in.
Like, I need you to stay focused. And we know Rui is the type who sometimes will kind of, if he doesn't touch the ball, will mentally kind of phase out of the game. So I'm okay with that. I think when we watch it as fans, we're like, oh, LeBron's getting pissed at Rui and Rui's a effing idiot and stuff like that. It's like, no, that's like a normal teammates interaction. Like, yo, get your ish together, bro. Like we're trying to make a run here. That sort of thing. But go ahead.
This is year 3 with Rui and LeBron, right? So I'm sure there's some relationship built up. By the way, LeBron, it's been a while to me, Vinay, since I've seen LeBron go at a teammate for a defensive mistake. Like it's like this was obviously a game he was super engaged in and needed all hands on deck. He really kind of got into Rui a few times, but Rui was fantastic. He moved his feet against Shai, I thought, as well, as I've seen him just kind of in containment. But before we go to the defense,
block off the backboard, I think it was a Shai drive. Yeah,
weak side block, I believe, came around and got a nice block. But before we move to the defensive end, Vinay, just this matchup. Again, we belabored it, I think, on this pod, but now we have a game of film. I'm fascinated to see on Tuesday the kind of chess match of, do you want 2 games on film? Either team, like, do you want 2 games on film? I'd be interested to see how OKC approaches it. They're obviously still playing for home court through the finals. I believe Cleveland has kind of caught them strangely in terms of, I think Cleveland's at 15 and they're at 14, whatever the losses are.
Yeah.
But anything you take from how the Lakers attacked their defense from a playoff perspective of what could work? Obviously, the shooting was great. I pushed back on it being hot. Shooting, obviously it was. When you shoot 55% from 3, there's a level of shooting luck that comes in. But the type of shot, at least to me, the quality of looks they got, that makes it not fake. Dorian is more than capable of hitting 4 threes off of 4 attempts. Gabe is a
he just did it like 3 games ago, so it's not like it's not new. Yeah.
playoff shooter as well. I believe 44% playoff shooter in his career. Gabe Minson, another guy that can get streaky easily. You give him a few open looks, he can get hot. No other Rui, I think, hit one of his whatever threes there were. But yeah, what have you seen offensively? Lakers can attack and take from this.
Yeah,
Going forward.
I think for sure especially between Luka and Braun, the sheer size that they are, if they want to go early and they really want to get to the rim or get to whatever spot they're getting to, if they do it early, it's going to happen. Like, I think that's the one thing you can certainly take away against this OKC team. OKC genuinely believes that they can play a lot of their matchups one-on-one. Like, they'll let Lou Dort play Luka one-on-one. And I think this isn't like some of the other teams that we see, like when Braun gets it and there's always a second guy shading to help and stuff like that. Like, OKC genuinely believes that they can do it. And they might be right. They might, if we got in a series, they might win a game that way. But if I'm JJ and I'm looking at Luka and Braun, like, I'm telling them, these guys think they can play you one-on-one. They're not going to help, at least not in the first quarter. They're not going to help unless you give them a reason to help. So if you want to go get after it offensively, go get after it. And if you go faster in the shot clock and you don't wait till 10 seconds or 8 seconds are left, you'll get yourself a good look. And I think that is a real thing. Like, I think that's something that they can definitely lean on.
Talk to me about this concept, Vinay, and I mentioned it earlier, but I kind of want to detail in it further.
Yeah.
The idea of, because I think when you preview this matchup, it's a wrestling match between Lou Dort and Luka Doncic. I tracked it mentally, not physically on a numbers spreadsheet, but just from when I was watching. I don't think Luka took a single shot with Lou Dort guarding him. I mean, he didn't have to. Like, he didn't have to, right? I think he took one step back three late in the clock. But other than that, this was not a like one-on-one, everyone get off the floor.
Yeah.
This was Luka going, you have two bigs I don't trust can stay in front of me.
Yeah.
I find that super fascinating. That, like, what's the whole point then? I guess what I'm trying to say is that a consistent thing you feel like will go into the playoffs or do they eventually just have Lou Dort chase over? I think he flopped on two moving screens and got the call on both of them. But
this is a freaking crash dummy, bro. Like, on one of them, Jackson Hayes is going for a rebound, and he like both plays happened to Jackson. Jackson going for a rebound, and somehow Lou Dort ends up on the ground and runs through Jackson's legs. Jackson hits the ground, and I think the rebound ends up going to OKC. That was one, and then the screenplay, where it's a clean screen by Jackson, but Lou Dort decides to do like a barrel roll after he knees Jackson in his knee, and he gets offensive call. I was just like, bro, this. And the thing that made me so mad was, we didn't even talk about that 3-on-1, the 1-on-3 play where they called the offensive foul on LeBron and we had to burn a challenge.
Oh, right.
Just for it to not be an offensive call. I was just like, what are y'all watching? How did you, like, the dude took a layup and y'all didn't let him land? Like, why do you think Braun didn't land on his feet? Like, you guys are just running into him. Anyways, the point about Lou Dort.
Or just,
there's a version of
defender.
This. Yeah, there's a version of it. I think there's two things that might happen. If this was game one of the series, if this was game one of the OKC series, and it was LA, let's say it's West Conference Finals, LA OKC, we go to OKC, we win game one off the strength of hot shooting and blah, blah. If I'm Mark Daigneault, I think what he's doing the very next game is he is telling Lou Dort, you can't give up these switches. Like, if we're going to run the same starting lineup, and you're going to have Lou Dort try to fight over these screens too as well. So that's one thing that can happen. But I do think, Raj, ultimately what OKC will do if that doesn't work is they're going to downsize all the way, and they're going to play Jalen Williams at the 5, and they're going to say, we're just going to switch everything, and Jalen's going to have to take on Luka one-on-one, because I think they do believe that, like, their best lineup is like Shai, Dort, like maybe Caruso or maybe Holmgren and like Jalen. Like, I think they believe that they can play the best, like the best version of small ball. But that's really the other option. But what's the flip side of that? If Lou Dort is fighting over screens and Luka gets him one-on-one, that kind of means that Lou Dort is in like this hyper-aggressive mode where he's really chasing after Luka. Well, Luka can flip that. Now all of a sudden Lou might get into foul trouble, or maybe he's taking bad angles, or he's being super risky with some of the gambling that he's doing, and now Luka's getting into the paint even easier. Or he's able to stay in front of Luka. But the good part is we can go to Austin if he's getting crazy. Or we can go to Braun if he's getting crazy. So I think your observation's correct. Like, they let us go after Hartenstein. They let us go after Holmgren with Luka. But the other part of this is if they don't let us do that, we have two other guys that can go after those two guys as well. So you have to make a decision at some point about what you're going to do.
Well, it's not just that. Just conceptually, if you have Lou Dort chase over, right, which essentially what you're saying is you want Lou Dort recovering, right, back to Luka Doncic. Well, now you got Luka going downhill against a big man retreating or trying to hedge the screen or whatever you want to call it. There's a couple different ways you can do it. You can blitz, which is just put 2 on him. You can have the big try to hedge and recover back, which I think Luka's just too brilliant of a passer to allow that. So I just find that whole chess match between him and the defense interesting. And then to your point, Austin Reeves comes back in and just torches them similar way. They ran a different defense against Austin. They were having in a drop coverage a little bit, and he just torched that as well. But just that, Vinay, that defense versus offense kind of matchup that we kind of fantasize in our head, it's kind of not how this works out, right? It's just interesting to think about it from it's not a 1-on-1, it's a 5-on-5 game, which kind of changes the operations. And I find that just super interesting. And, Lou Dort's kind of the main guy they're going to throw. Case on Wallace, another great defender. It was funny watching Alex Caruso was guarding LeBron at the top of the key. And again, Alex is a guy you would trust to guard. LeBron just drives right through him. He just does not have the weight to stay with. And they're interesting enough. I saw a tweet about it. I forgot who said it, but Oklahoma City's kind of small everywhere else, but they're big on their front line. But to your point with the post ups, LeBron was shooting over Wiggins, and just guys that he finds this turnaround fadeaway to be a go-to shot for him. I think he hit 4 of them, Vinay, very LeBronto-ish. It's I'm going to back you down and turn you down. So, I'm with you. I'm interested to see what they look like on Tuesday if they're both healthy and the adjustments they'll make. But Vinay, I think we have real mismatches to take advantage.
How many free throws did we get, Raj? How do you remember Braun going to the line for any significant amount of time? Do you remember Luka going to the line for a significant amount of time, or Austin going to the line, in general? It feels like
not at all.
Maybe Jackson or Vando probably got more free throws than some of those guys. And granted, some of that was to hot shooting, but again, when we think about just how they generated these shots, how they scored their points, it wasn't at the line. They were still going in the paint and attacking, but it's not like they're getting bailed out on calls or grifting for fouls and that sort of thing. So I think that there is a part of this where the Lakers go, hey, look, we know this is a really good defensive team. We know that they like to play boxes and elbows, and we know they like to play the driving lanes, but we're bigger than them. I'll ask you another thing before we talk about a little bit about the defensive side of the game. I asked this question on the playback. Who won the physicality? Who won that game today? I think the Lakers won that game. And so I think that was a huge, huge part of us being successful, because now if we're the ones who are going to be always throwing the jab, throwing the hook, and going for knockout punches, and if we're the ones who are doing that work, and we're not doing it reactively, we're doing it proactively, I think that changes the tempo and the pace and the momentum of the game. I thought they controlled that significantly.
Yeah, definitely. They were the aggressor. They were the ones kind of dishing out the contact, not fouling. But no, to your point, LeBron 0 free throws tonight. Austin 4 free throws. This is a super clean game, by the way. Vinay, 29 free throws combined for both teams. I don't think Shai stepped to the line at all. At least through 3 quarters, he did not have a free throw.
It's the first game in 6. I don't know since when it was, but in 3 years that he hasn't gotten any free throws. But even Shai's shots. Maybe outside of maybe 2 layups, they were difficult. He was doing double pump, reverse side layups, and I was just bro, he's worried about getting blocked, and he's trying to avoid making these too easy to get blocked.
Yeah, let's get into the defense. He's an interesting star, Vinay, because he's a high volume scorer. That's really not a high volume 3-point shooter. He's not really looking to hit a bunch of pull up 3-pointers. He's looking to get to the paint and kind of hit these turnaround fades. And the Lakers kind of said, we'll live with contested 2-pointers. And credit to Shai, brilliant offensive player, hit pretty much every one of those. I think he was 8 for 13 at one point. But you force him to take, 23 shots to get to his points. I thought the defensive game plan was on point. the intentionality we talked about on offense, I thought it transferred over to the defensive end. I thought the help was at the correct place. Lou Dort led the team in 3-point attempts going into the fourth quarter. Did not think that was by accident. Alex Caruso, another guy, they kind of said, all right, you want to take a three with us running out to you? Go ahead. We're not doubling Shai. We're going to force him. We're not going to let him get to the line. We're not going to let him score at the rim. But if he wants mid-range twos, fadeaways, the whole game, we'll live with that. Let's focus on him first, Vinay. Talk to me defense on Shai. Felt like one of the better, even with him scoring 26 or whatever he finished with, it just that felt like the game plan was super successful.
Yeah, so he was definitely dealing. I think in the first quarter he had about 6 assists. I don't think that's by chance. I think that was by design, in the sense that like the Lakers were like, you're either going to take the shot that we want you to take, or you're going to have to pass this to a teammate. And some of his, his teammates knocked down shots, whatever it was. But I think I would not be shocked if one day, if we gave truth serum to somebody on the Lakers coaching staff and asked them how they prepped for Shai, I would not be shocked if they had an entire film session or if they've been working up to a film session where they basically coached every single player and said, this is how you're defending Shai if you get caught in an isolation against him. He's going to do this. He's going to do this. Like if he doesn't get the right-handed drive, he's going to reverse pivot into a pull-up shot. We want him to reverse pivot into a pull-up shot, so we're playing the drive. And when he reverse pivots, then if he reverse pivots, he's going to pump fake. And if he as a shot fake, we're not biting on the shot fake. We're not putting our hands up. We're not putting our hands out. We're not doing any of that. And when he eventually does decide to release the ball, Rui, you're 6'9". Vando, you're 6'9". Braun, you're 6'9". Luka, you're 6'9". You're more than tall enough to challenge it once he actually decides to shoot the ball. Just wait for him to do that. And I thought like it's one of those things where it's just like Shai's an all-world scorer, so he's always going to score in some capacity. But if you can limit the ways that he's allowed to hurt you and put him in a situation, even if he is effective in that situation, if you can limit the extra stuff that he does, put your team in foul trouble, driving kicks to his teammates for 3-point shots. If you can eliminate all that extra stuff that he's good at and force him to just be a scorer in the way that you want him to, you're going to be, I think you'll be successful. I thought, dude, there were so many situations where Vando was caught in an ISO against him. Rui was caught in an ISO against him. Luka was caught in an ISO against him. Austin was caught in an ISO against him, I want to say. And they all played it like super disciplined. Like, we're not going to foul this dude. We're not going to give you easy rhythm shots at the free throw line. Go ahead and make the tough two on us. Like, we'll survive. And we know it's not really a tough two for you, but we think that's a good tough two for you to have to take.
Yeah, you're playing the math game, right? Kind of like no free throws, no threes, just long two after long two. And that's a tough diet to live on, to eat on. And I thought that was the correct game plan. Reminded me a lot of Denver as well. Mm-hmm. Obviously different plan, but very much executed with all guys on a string, I thought. And again, the most impressive thing tonight, Vinay, we played Hartenstein on different teams, obviously the Clippers and the Knicks, and he would absolutely eat our front court alive. And this is with Anthony Davis on the team, by the way. Like, he would still have just absolute massive games. 4 shots for him tonight. Hit all of them. He was 4 for 4, but just removing that presence, which again, I thought Hartenstein was an absolute massive addition for them this summer, along with Caruso, which they got for basically free. And Josh Giddey's playing well, but in any case, I just thought their defense to be able to take away the rim. Chet Holmgren, I think mostly his shot attempts came from the 3-point line. He had 6 shots tonight, Vinay, 3 from downtown. So half his shots came from 3. Just taking those guys away with the amount of small ball we play. I forgot to mention when you mentioned the physicality, just Dorian and Gabe, what they do physically. Obviously Rui, we kind of gave flowers to, but I think both of those guys, as vets, something that you take for granted. You don't really notice it because you look at the box score and go, well, but Gabe shot 3 for 11. And we talk about this all the time. We don't think that's what the coaching staff is looking at with both of them.
Not at all. Yeah, I'm with you.
Those are both guys they look at. Okay, Gabe fights over every screen. He never gives up, an easy look in transition. It's not like if Gabe's back, he lets a guy have a 2-on-1 basket. He's always there. They always foul. They always make sure to at least try and save a basket. And I think that stuff adds up throughout the game. Vando's psychotic play kind of continues to be a plus or a minus, but I thought tonight it added to that physicality that you were talking about with, Vando was able to come in and just kind of muck things up. And when the team's shooting well and he's able to kind of just run around, I think that helps as well. But I think we have an 8-man rotation, Vinay, and I think this was a very insightful ball game. Houston just won, so we'll see how that affects the 2 seed. But with the 3 seed now, it feels like that'll be locked in with 2 more wins. This is a fantastic game, and I thought a lot of stuff is starting to come together, and it all starts with Luka being himself, and then we have 2 guys that can support that.
Yeah. So the next thing I want to talk about before we get to the fun segment that I have planned for us is the rebounding. So I want to juxtapose this, Raj, between the 3 games that we've seen this happen. The Houston game, we got assaulted the first time when we played them on the boards and in early transition. We got hurt really bad. And the second time around, and you and I have been talking about this quite a bit, that JJ seems like he's very, very much a film guy. Obviously he's a data guy too, but he's very, very much a film guy. And he really kind of like nitpicks on film, like the way that like we try to nitpick the way that he does, in the sense of like, what did he see that he like that? How would he communicate that to his players? And so like, I think when we watched the Houston game, you and I both came to the conclusion that like the Lakers aren't going to win the small ball unless everybody's crashing the glass. Like it's almost mandatory for them to do it, because if they don't, they're not going to win those 50-50 possessions that they need to win in regular season games or in playoff games. So if we juxtapose those games, we got our butts kicked on the glass and in transition against Houston the first time. Now you look at the Houston game that we just won. Then you juxtapose that against the Warriors game that we just lost. And then you juxtapose that again with the game that we have in OKC. And if you think about the defensive rebounding and the effort that they did on the glass and the effort they did on the defensive end, getting back in transition, that sort of thing, you had 3 games where I would say it's very clear that when they go small ball and they rebound well as a team, they're winning those games. And if they don't rebound well, meaning one guy falls asleep and you're letting Brandon Pajemski go get extra shots that lead to extra shots for Steph Curry or Jonathan Kuminga to get extra shots, like it is very clear that this team, and in the Warriors game, this was very clear too as well, they can play 23 seconds, 23 and a half seconds of really good defense. But when they don't rebound is when it really falls apart for them in regards to that. And I think personally, I was having this conversation, I think the defensive rebounding does translate, meaning I think this is not fake. Like I think this defensive rebounding, if they're like committed, locked into it, and they're in a series with somebody else, I think it is a real thing. And the fact that they keep turning it on and turning it off with their effort makes me think like, and even against like New Orleans, like they were giving up offensive rebounds. They got like New Orleans got like 4 offensive rebounds on one play.
Right.
Like the defensive rebounding is really important for this team, like for the rhythm that they want to play with. Is that a fair way of like thinking about how important it is? I feel like it's almost more important when you're playing small ball than it is compared to a traditional lineup.
100%. And I use the term small ball as well. But I think centerless is probably the kind of a correct kind of operation. I think we have the 2 best, maybe 2 best. Historians can come correct me, but 2 of the best just rebounding forwards ever, like in Luka and LeBron. Both of those dudes gobble up multiple rebounds a game. Rui's I think improved on that end. And Dorian, to me, Renee, is kind of he's the kind of X factor in this, where this guy goes and puts a body on somebody. He's awesome. He's like very good at deflections. The Warriors game is tough. They shoot such a high volume of threes. Like those type of rebounds are much tougher to grab. Those are 50-50 balls. I thought the Warriors got a lot of those, but you're right. I think the focus and intention has been there, besides the Rui kind of getting yelled at. Gabe's a good box out rebounder as well. Austin's numbers like slowly have been kind of increasing in the rebounding place as well. But no, I'm with you. Defensive rebounding is vital. It's extremely crucial to what this team needs to do, especially if they're like, I think they're going to commit Vinay to, like, I think in the playoffs they're going to start Dorian eventually, to me, over Jackson, and like not now, just when the series starts kicking off or when they're down, whenever it becomes an urgent situation. That's the lineup they're going to go with. And if you look at the numbers, that lineup is actually playing really well. They're like a +10 net rating. they've rewarded JJ with their trust. So I just think that's I think that's a place that he's gonna go to. But I'm with you, man. Rebounding is important. I think it's tough for LeBron to do that on a night to night basis, but 3 games left. All these games matter now, I guess, once you trying to still fight for the 2 seed, if that's possible. I think it's still possible. If Houston loses out, I'm guessing the Lakers can get to 2 seed. I don't know if that's true or not. I gotta check. But no, I'm with you. Defensive rebound is super vital, and I think the small ball they play a lot of guys that rebound well for their position. And that's gonna be key.
Yeah, I think because we're getting that question quite a bit in the chat, like what's the Lakers' magic number? I think the magic number for the Rockets is 1. If they win 1 game, they clinch the 2 seed. I think for the Lakers, the magic number is 2, but that's only assuming like the Wolves, because the Wolves are the only team that holds a tiebreaker over us. Like it's assuming the Wolves don't go undefeated by the end of the season. So in reality, you just want to win the 3 games. Like don't leave it up to chance for anybody else until you mathematically clinch the 3 seed or potentially the 2 seed, depending on what happens with Houston. Like you just keep playing, and I think the Lakers are going to approach it that way for the most part, unless something happens to change tomorrow in regards to it. So I'm sure somebody tomorrow will have all those breakdowns. Last question, Raj, I have about this game specifically, and then we'll get to the fun part. LeBron is the bridge. We've said this before. I did a little short about it. People are finally, I think I would like to say that Lakers Detailed helped start the wave of stop talking about first options and second options and third options. Like start thinking about these guys in different ways. He is very clearly the bridge. LeBron today, I would say, if you looked at his stats, you would say he was a third option. But if you watched him play this game today, he was involved in every single possession that was going on in some form, both offensively and defensively, for when he was on the floor. In the fourth quarter, it was significantly more pronounced because he was on ball much more for what they were trying to do. But it is very clear that LeBron is approaching some of these games with the idea that I'm going to let Luka do his thing. I'm going to let Austin do his thing, depending on what JJ calls. I'm going to let Austin do his thing. And if they are rolling, I'm not getting in the way. Like I'm going to let them do what they have to do in order to do it. And we've seen the good and the bad of this because sometimes we were yelling, like Braun, like you've got the matchup, go do something. Don't wait for somebody else or don't wait till the second half. But Braun did that today. His focus was on rebounding and defense and communicating on defense and rotating and stuff like that. And he did a phenomenal job. And it really wasn't until maybe the fourth quarter where he kind of really got active offensively. He had a great play. We'll talk about this tactically. OKC was in trouble. They were down 20. They had to do something different. So OKC did what every single team does when they can't score with their traditional lineups. They go super small, and OKC loves to do that. So they went with an all hands on deck line, or sorry, an all hands lineup. And I always call it all hands lineup because they basically played 4 guys that were going to ball pressure, like they had full court pressure, 2 guys down. There was an inbounds from the play where they had 2 guys on Luka and 1 guy on the alternate ball handler, and like I think LeBron was inbounding it or something, and then he was like looking around like a third guy has to come past half court so I can inbound it to you. But they basically played a lineup where they were trying to speed the Lakers up, and they wanted to speed the Lakers up to generate turnovers and possibly score quickly on the other end. And there's a play in the third quarter I want to see, or maybe it was the start of the fourth quarter, where Bron's kind of faced with that lineup, and he runs a pick and roll with Jackson that ends up being a Jackson dunk. Because the low man was Shai, I think was Shai in that situation. And like when we say Bron is the bridge, like that is a great example of what that. Like a team tries to do some gimmick kind of stuff, and Bron reads it. And I'm genuinely at a point right now where when I watch Bron play, of course he'll have games where he's statistically fantastic, but I'm watching what he's doing like without the ball. Like I'm watching what he's doing like to facilitate the offense in a further fashion, or the defense in a further fashion. Because at this point, I don't think the stats truly tell you how helpful he is being to his teammates. And
yeah,
I think that's a fair way to look at it. I don't think his fans will like it because they want him to get his 25, 7, and 7. But dude, he's been phenomenal and just kind of like saying, hey, I don't need to force myself. We're rolling right now. But what do you think about the way he played today and that impact?
So I love that. There's some question, Vinay, of I think LeBron said that he's gonna go record another Mind the Game tonight, and there's some pushback on that. But if you go listen listen to that, and Steve Nash is now his new partner
Yeah.
in crime on that show. But a little taking to get used to. But LeBron mentioned it. It's cool to see him talk about like I can now. He didn't say the word bridge. That would have been too cool. But he did say like he can be the guy that now creates out of 4-on-3s
Yeah.
and is the guy that's now using
I'm
the
sure he's gonna
advantage.
come up with his own term for it and be
Oh,
like, yeah,
sure.
I'm the something. I don't know, make something else.
Sure.
Okay.
But he alluded to how
Yeah.
now these 4-on-3 situations he's able to take advantage of. And again, this like I think me and Vinay are super clear that LeBron can go and take the keys whenever he
Yeah.
wants. Like this,
Anytime. Yeah.
the car's not locked for him.
Yeah.
Like he's able to go in the front seat and drive whenever he wants to. But I think he understands that this car is on the road and it's driving pretty well, and he can kind of work with it. And like he has a backcourt, Vinay, that I think just allows him to kind of work through games in a way that I'm not sure he's ever had the opportunity to. And again, 19 points. Like I think if this game was closer, LeBron would obviously turn the dial up.
Yeah.
But I think the ad is he has a dial he can turn up. It doesn't have to start at 10. It could start at 2, and he can push it up as the game goes. And I think that's the role he can kind of play in, and maybe use more energy for the defensive end and kind of pass out where his energy comes from. But I'm with you, man. This feels like the correct role for him, and this is to me, this is not a demotion. Like this is a 40-year-old guy that when the time comes, there's going to be matchup. There was a lineup today. I think you were alluding to it, but Luka was off the floor.
Yeah.
They were kind of switching everything, and Austin couldn't really, get to his spots. And this was a LeBron line. Like this is a LeBron has to be aggressive moment in the game. And I think the lead got pushed back from like 20. It got up back to like 27. He was able to kind of create some shots in transition. And yeah, man, this feels right. We'll see how it goes going forward. But again, like, Pale Fox is saying Braun can be Draymond. That feels like a diminishing kind of role because of what Draymond is offensively. But I think defensively, for sure, that's the role he has to kind of fill if Jackson Hayes is going to be, posted on the bench. But this looks clean, man. 30 for Luka, 20 for Austin, 19 for LeBron. I think those three are going to combine for 80 in different ways.
Yeah.
And this is one way they can do that.
Yeah, there's a possession where OKC tried to score early. It's when they went with their smaller lineups, and I think I mentioned it at the top of the pod, but like they end up missing the shot. Braun gets the ball, he runs out in transition. I think it's a long rebound, and I think he had like Aaron Wiggins on him, and there's like it's a 2-on-4, but it's an imbalanced floor, and there's nobody on the backside. And I was just like, Braun, just go. Like I was on the broadcast or the playback, I was just like, just go. Like you got Aaron Wiggins on you. There's nobody at the rim. You can just drive straight to them, and Braun draws Austin's defender who was in the corner, and he passes it to Austin. And when it happened real time, I was like, Braun, like why? Just go to the rim and take the layup. You don't have to do that. And Austin made the three.
He did,
yeah. But Braun pushing that pace, like his IQ of like, no, we're not going to let these dudes get back on defense. Like with this small ass lineup that they have on the floor, like I'm going to attack them immediately. Like that's the kind of stuff that I think makes a huge difference. And Raj, we said this we said this on the pod because I remember saying this. I said, I don't think people understand what position you're putting Braun in right now with Luka being on this team. You've always expected LeBron James to be the best player on his team, like the best player on the floor. What happens when he doesn't have to do that? What is the version of the team that you get when he did that? And so I think you're seeing versions of what this looks like where he doesn't have to be the guy who puts the cape on offensively and that drains him defensively. I think it's just great that it's happened.
Yeah, he has two guys really that just take possessions over, like in the New Orleans game as well. Obviously, a lesser opponent, but Luka kind of obviously started slow. Dalton Connect came in, had a big game, but Austin another just 6 or 7 threes, and it allows LeBron, I think, to play the correct role because he has two ball handlers he can really rely on to carry, and then when the game gets tight or when it's a moment where they really need him on the ball, he can kind of take that and doesn't have to do it for the whole game.
Yeah, and shout out to Luka fan 77 for the $5 super chat. We appreciate you so much for sending that over. His comment is last year they had Dort chase Luka the whole series, but with their two bigs. Oh, he's talking about their two bigs. With their two bigs this year, it's so different. Plus, Braun makes Dort have to guard two guys. I think that's a great observation. That's a great comment. Like Also, we said it beforehand. We're like, okay, Kyrie didn't really have a great series. PJ Washington had to step up for them to beat OKC, and now Luka's got Austin Reeves and he's got
Right.
LeBron James. I think it's kind of a upgrade, in terms of what that matchup might look like for them. Raj, do you want to get to the fun segment first, or do you want to hit these questions first?
Yeah, let's get to the segment and then
Let's
we'll
get
do
this
the
segment. All right, so
question.
this is gonna be. It won't be too long. It's a fun segment because we're gonna try and keep this to an hour, because it's end of the weekend and I want folks to be able to get some sleep and be excited for the week. This fun segment is called "What's Real and What's Fake," and so this is just going to be me asking Raj different elements of what we've seen of this Lakers basketball team post trade, and whether it's real or it's fake, and whether when I say it's real or if it's fake. It's about whether it translates. Think of it that way for the folks that end up playing this game along with us, playing along with me. So the first question, Raj, is the Lakers defense, small ball team defense as a collective, is it real or is it fake?
Is it real or it's fake? Well, what is real, I guess, is like the kind of the question here. I think it's real to an extent, and I think it gives up things. So I think what they're trying to give up is real, which they're trying to take away the rim, and they're gonna take away kind of the free throw line, and they're gonna give you some open shots from some corners, from some outside areas, from players that they don't really respect. Jonathan Kaminga, those type of guys are gonna give you threes. Players on the Nuggets like Aaron Gordon, those guys are gonna get open threes. But Vinay, I think the scheme around it, that's real to
Mhm.
me, and I think that's something they can take to the playoffs. And again, there's ways that teams can attack it. I think there's some I think the Warriors pose an interesting matchup issue because of the way Steph Curry can kind of attack and just the unique kind of talent that he
Mhm.
is. But I think they have a base defense, Vinay, that they can be consistent at and kind of carry their offense. What about you?
Yeah, I think elements of it are very, very real. I think
Mhm.
Gabe, DFS, Vando, Rui to some degree, Jordan Goodwin to some degree. Those
Mm,
guys are all real mother effers that really want to battle on the defensive end. I think that is very, very real. I think the defensive talent on this team is very real. And I think the idea behind the schemes that they run is also very real. Can the execution be spotty at sometimes? For sure. But I definitely don't feel like I'm in a situation right now where I feel as though we don't have a championship level defense or can't have a contending. Let me not say championship, a contending level defense. Um, but that's where I'm at with that. Go ahead.
I just want to parlay like this question with it
Yeah.
because I think this is interesting. Andre is saying Vando's minutes are so impactful. Only plays 15. You feel all his minutes, finding ways from staying on the floor, critical rebounds, effort, and so much more. I'm just gonna follow up your question with another one. How real are Vando and Goodwin playoff minutes? Because I think that's
Yeah.
extremely interesting to me. Goodwin played tonight
Yeah.
again,
He
big
plays
game,
short
huge game.
roll. Yeah.
Yeah, and I thought he was awesome. Had some great rebounds.
Yeah.
He had some floaters that I'm not sure are planned, but they go
Yeah.
in. Oh, you make some. But just Vando and Goodwin minutes, Vinay. How real is that to you? Are they penned? Are they penciled in for the playoff rotation, or do you still feel like they're both kind of situational?
I think they still are situational. I
Mm,
think Goodwin is very, very situational. Because I think everybody's minutes will get a bump up once the playoffs start. So Goodwin might see some of his minutes squeezed out. But I do think Vando's usage is. I think JJ does that thing that we always talk about, where he looks at him based on skill, and JJ will look at lineups and say, "Hey, I need more rebounding, and I need more whatever sort of defense, energy, motor stuff that I need." So I have to play Vanda. So matchups that require that to be, or lineups that require that to be on the floor, is where I think we'll see Vando get played. I think the only way Vando has a short leash is if he's like really awful, like offensively. Like if he's like really bad offensively, he might have a short leash. In which case, you might see Jordan Goodwin see the floor or something like that. But um, they're gonna play, dude. I think they're gonna play. Like, dude, this was a big game. Jordan
yeah,
Goodwin. I mean, granted, we were up 20, so maybe that's why he felt a little bit more comfortable playing him. But I think Vando's gonna play. He has to. Like, he's a core part of that defensive identity for us to be successful.
yeah, no, for sure. And like
Yeah.
Goodwin played not even when they were up 20, played in the first half. Like he's
Yeah.
JJ is going to these lineups I find extremely dangerous, which is Luca by himself, Vinay, and just this like uh, you know, putting a bunch of dogs together and hoping that carries through until LeBron and Austin come in. And, those are the lineups that kind of scare me. But those lineups have, I think rewarded JJ with his trust. So,
Yeah.
well, we'll see.
Okay. All right. The next one I've got for you, Raj.
Okay.
There's been a lot of conversation about how good Austin Reeves has been
Oh man.
since LeBron got hurt and since LeBron's been back. And there's been a lot of conversation about that. And we
Mhm.
know that Austin is a playoff riser. We've seen it before. So there's no question about that. But the question is that the level that he's at right now is like, it is definitely certainly a notch above. This is not the same Austin in the first round Memphis series. This is a much better version of Austin that we're seeing right
Yeah.
now. Is Austin Reeves' current rate of success and production going into the playoffs, is it real or is it fake?
So I feel like I'm doing my job because I was, in the media, kind of area at the game.
Yeah.
I'm starting to hear the conversations of, not gonna reveal what they are, but some interesting conversations and takes in terms of Austin Reeves and the talent that he's reached. And I'll kind of leave it at that.
Fair.
I don't know, Vinay, if he's a 28 point a game scorer, but I do think he's kind of reached the 24, 25 point a game, which to me happens only when your pull up jump shot becomes such a threat that you can hit that at volume and keep the efficiency. Last 6 games, he's at 41% on pull up threes. I think he's taking like 5 a game. And that's what gets you to me to that 24, 25. We know about him getting to the line. And there was a fun conversation of, well, not fun, but just an interesting one of, yeah, well, someone's got to sit in the back seat. And, it was like, all right. I don't think y'all understand what's going on here. I was trying to explain, like, I don't think people understand the jump that is in all seriousness. Like when a player like this takes a jump, you don't take away the landing spot. Kind of like you let them kind of jump as far as they can jump. And, but yeah, Austin's still in the air. So I tell so it's fun to have these conversations. And and the cool part is like there's none of this, well, we gotta see it in the playoffs. We saw it in the playoff, like we've gotten a playoff run through it already. There were some points of struggle in terms of the legs and stuff like that he spoke on, but this is a guy that not forget playoffs, but we can put that to the side. Any big game the Lakers are involved in the last 3 years, please go. Austin's in the thick of it in terms of deciding how that game goes. And when we win, he's usually in the middle of it as well. A couple game winners taken away this week, but I think people should be ready for how these late game offenses go. And yeah, we'll see. But again, what's real was not like, is he a 28 point a game guy? I don't know. That's what he's been at, but 25 a game. But he scored 30 in like 4 of 6 games. Like just, we were at the Pelicans. I was at the Pelicans game, and you're there. You kind of don't look up at the score sometimes. It's like, man, Austin's at 30. Like he just walked in at 30. It doesn't even feel like he's taking that many shots, and that to me is the kind of proof of a good scorer.
Yeah, that's an excellent answer. I'm with you. I think Austin is real. Maybe we don't get the same level of efficiency or just like the gaudy 30-point games, but I think it's very real what his offensive skill is, and I think he continues to rise. Last one, Raj, I have. Everything's all hunky dory and fine. We're all super happy that Braun is like willing to be this guy who's stepping back and letting people do this thing.
Oh,
And
you're
like, oh yeah, sure, Austin, get your
step back. You're getting in trouble. Yeah.
Austin, do your thing. Sure. Oh, Lucas, for sure, do your thing. But we know who Braun is. Braun is the big dog. Braun is the guy who, if he wants to go and put his stamp on a game, or you want to put a stamp on a series, or whatever he wants to do, he can do that. So my question is Braun's collaborative skills right now and his willingness to step back and just kind of, be that bridge and be cool with everybody and let them do their thing and take this role where he's only scoring like 20 points a game. Not saying that he wants the stats, but just saying like the involvement or the usage rate.
Sure.
That's the hot word that everybody likes to use, usage rate.
Right.
Is his willingness to keep this usage rate and his involvement at this level, is it real or is it fake?
I think it's real, but I think when like the success of the team will determine the amount of engagement he is into that, like in terms of how body in is he into that, will depend on how the games go. Um,
Mm,
like, so in terms of if they're down, like, and it's not working, and I think, like, usually in life in general, when things don't go your way, you resort to your default, right? You have a default that you resort to. I think LeBron's going to resort to, all right, like, enough of this. Like, I'm getting
mhm.
the ball and we're doing this, right? It's kind of like when it's kind of like, yeah, we'll run the offense through AD, but like eventually, like, I'm going to decide where the ball goes, or I'm going to
Yeah,
take the shot, or whatever it is. And I think what's interesting about this, Vinay, I think Luca has the resume obviously for it. Then Austin's kind of earned the trust with it as well. So I'd be interested to see how that blends through. But I think in the playoffs, you'll see a guy that's turned up. You'll have no more back to backs. You get
yeah.
rest. Lakers get 10 days off. Did you know that, Vinay? 10 days off
I
after the
I'm
regular
I'm so
season.
happy for Luka and Braun that they get that the whole
10
team.
days
Yeah,
off? My God, I
they'll be
didn't know.
rusty for
Maybe
sure.
maybe because we were so involved in the play in the last
Yeah,
few years that I just did not realize how long a layoff it is
bro.
for.
And in our March, bro, our March schedule is so
Oh,
terrible this year,
yes.
bro. It's crazy. Yeah,
Yeah, for
but
sure. But yeah, we'll see how that works with LeBron. I do think, like, he is willing to, like, this is like, it's Luka Doncic.
yeah,
Like it's this is prime Luka 20. It's not rookie Luka that, like, uh Luka came in with Dirk, and it was kind of like, end of the time. I don't remember how old Dirk was, but it was a rookie Luka Doncic. Hasn't really proved anything. Has the name, has a stature, but you don't really know. There's a mythology around him, right? 16-year-old won MVP in the Euro League, but this is like this is a guy who was in the finals last year. Like,
yeah.
it's a little different. And then Austin Reeves, who's kind of earned the trust, through the dirt, but. It'd be interesting, but I don't know where are you at with it in terms of
Yeah, so
realizing.
I think the realness I think is real. But if I had to rank the realness from like a 1 to a 10, I think it's like at a 5. Like I don't think he's like at a 9 out of 10. This is super real. I think there's a version of Braun where it's like, no, when the playoff starts, like I'm going to show you guys who I am and why I am who I am. I think I'm with you for the most part. I think he's probably going to defer a little bit and let his guys get his game off. But I think there's certainly is a version of Braun that goes, hey, game two, let's say we lose game one or something like that. Game two,
Mm,
oh no, I'm putting a stamp on this game like from the start. Like Luka's going to do his thing, but I'm going to do my thing too, and we're going to make it so that you guys, teams don't think that they can take advantage of us. So I'm with you. I think it's real. I wanted to bring this up because it was just really funny to me. The first Mind the Game pod that comes back, he has a segment on Luka, and he has a segment on Austin, and he has a segment on Jackson Hayes. And I thought, of course, he's going to talk about his newest teammates, but I thought it was really funny because we talked so much about him being the bridge, and he dedicated segments of his pod
oh
to
yeah.
his teammates, and I think that's a really honorable, really cool thing of him to do, and I think it kind of speaks to like how he feels about those guys and just kind of, and how much he trusts those guys in these situations. But I think there's in the back of Broad's mind, he's just like, all right, you guys are enjoying this. I'm doing my part. But the moment we get to that point, when the needle gets to that point where it's just like, do we really need Broad to like do this much on offense? He's like, no, watch while let me show you how important I really am. And I think like the fourth quarter in OKC is a great example of that. Like you take a lineup that it's not expected to score very much, and Braun's like, no, I'm going to dominate every single possession, and we're going to close this game out against OKC for sure.
I'm gonna follow up on this question. Do you believe, like, that's still there where he can transform right back into the 37-7 guy once the playoffs start?
I
Is
think
that in there?
I think to be fair, I think that groin thing is a real thing. I think it has affected him a little bit, but I think if in terms of effort, like if he wanted to go out and really go for 37-7, I think he could do that. I think
Mm,
he's genuinely taking a step back and saying, "Look, I need to be." I think they interviewed him, Raj, and they asked him, how does your groin feeling, blah blah, all that sort of stuff. He's like, "Look, right now the wins and losses are, obviously I'm not worried about the win-loss record. It's really about getting healthy for the playoffs." And I think he genuinely means that because the intensity just ramps up. And so I think he's trying to like work his way like in that capacity. I think there's definitely a version of in the playoffs where Braun is back to being that guy who's really pushing the pace in transition. Like we haven't seen that in a while. Like we haven't seen Braun go coast to coast or take it, from the 3-point line to the other side rim. And I think we've been missing that to some degree. But I think that's going to come back. I think he's going to try and make that a concerted effort against the teams that we have.
I'm with you. I think it's in there as well. I'm interested to see how it looks. Just in terms of, this is no longer a 5-out space for him. This is, he's attacking from different parts of the floor. He only took 1 3-pointer tonight, made it. It was like a jab step 3, but overall he's creating good looks.
He's shooting 40% on catch and shoot threes or something crazy like that.
43%. He leads. 43%. He leads the team. He's at 45 since the All-Star break. Just, he's really bought into the off ball kind of. That's what you need on that position. That's an important shot. I think, in my opinion, Luka needs to be more comfortable with that shot. Luka, as brilliant as he is, sometimes attacks closeouts that make it a little harder, and he's just so brilliant. Sometimes he can gather twice and still make the right pass. But I think there are catch and shoot opportunities that he's passing up that he can take. But LeBron's bought into that, and I think him as a cutter can still open up. The Chicago game got blasted everywhere, but besides those last few minutes, like, LeBron had an awesome fourth quarter.
Awesome. Yeah.
And just decided the game ended 3 minutes before it did. But but yeah, there's still that player in there. I'm just interested to see how it looks, and 4 more games before the real thing starts.
Yeah. Raj, I'm gonna say this. Like, I have some real my feelings about JJ as a coach in terms of if he gets in a series against the same exact team over and over again, not even just JJ, like the whole coaching staff, I feel like they're really detail oriented. And like, even just the switch from when we got beat by Houston to how we changed the way that we played against Houston, even though we didn't play that second big, even though you and I were both saying, yo, you got to play a second big against Steven Adams. They said, no, we're sticking to our lineup. We're just going to clean up our execution. Like, I'm my thing continues to go like in that direction. My belief that he's going to get better in the playoffs too as well.
Yeah. No, I'm with you. Feels like JJ's coached an incredible season. I mean, did the Lakers reach 50 wins, or at least they're close to it?
They're close. I think they're at 49 or 48 right now. Yeah, so we'll just do this one question, Raj, because we're close to the hour 10, hour 15 mark. This one's from George. JJ was referring to, what was JJ referring to when he said Ram 3 post game last Friday? Was that the 3-man action for the big 3? Got LeBron a post touch, a LeBron back cut, and a Hayes a dunk consecutively.
Yeah, he was talking about he got it because they were pestering him with the 3-man lineup data, Vinay. Yeah. They were like, "Do you know that?" He's like, "I know." He's like, "I know." He's like, "I also know other things, but I know." And then he went on to, he's really interesting dude, but so that's what he was referring, Jordan, to, like the 3-man actions that were successful. Lakers had a few of those that worked out, not just the post, but they had some the Ram action that you mentioned. They had a Spain action as well that they mentioned that worked. So that's what JJ was referring to. But yeah, they're like, "Did you know it's negative this?" And they're like, he's like, "Yeah, I know."
He's a funny guy. Folks, we have had an excellent stream today. We get the huge win against OKC. Lakers still have a few more games left. They have 4 games left. A back-to-back Tuesday, Wednesday, OKC and Dallas. Dallas will be a huge game for Luka because that's his return to Dallas since the trade, and obviously us seeing AD since the trade too as well. And then we close out the season against Houston, which may or may not have 2-seed implications, depending on how the rest of their games go. And then we close out the season against Portland. I think that's a home game. Is that a home game, Raj? Do you know of the Portland game?
No, it's not. No, it's okay, not. The last home game is against Houston next Friday.
It's against Houston. Okay. So and then we close out against Portland. So we might not stream until after all of that, the following Sunday. Maybe we'll try to do it beforehand, but for the most part, it might not be until the following Sunday. So this is the final stretch, folks, for the Lakers. If they win 2 or 3 games, they basically clinch for that 3 seed in the regular season. And then we have to watch. There's right now currently a 4-way tie between the 5th seed and the 8th seed. And a lot of those teams are going to play each other. So I told folks before, I tweeted online, I will not be shocked that if the Lakers lock in that 3 seed earlier, sooner than later, we might see some seeding shenanigans with teams trying to not get matched up with us in the first round. It's happened before. And so specifically against the Lakers, I wouldn't be shocked if it happens again. But folks, it's been it's a great weekend when the Lakers win, and it's on a Sunday. Obviously, it's a huge win for the Lakers. Last 4 games of the season coming up. Raj, you're going to be in the building at some of those games. Raj has been excellent asking JJ questions and asking players questions. Been doing a wonderful job on the beat. We'll just see how it goes, folks. We'll see how these games go, and we'll do it. So we appreciate all the support that we get on Lakers Detailed, the support that we've gotten so far this season on Lakers Detailed. Obviously, we'll do another stream next weekend, so we'll conclude the regular season at that point. But we appreciate all the support that we've gotten from everybody so far, and I don't think Raj and I can reiterate that enough. If you get a chance, if you're watching this on YouTube, you can hit the like button. You can hit the subscribe button. If you're on X, you can go to like and subscribe, head over to YouTube and do that. That helps the channel out significantly. And if nothing else, tell your friends about it. Raj, I was at a run on Wednesday, and somebody came up to me who like recognized like that there's like multiple courts, and some like random dude was just like, yo, are you that guy who does like Lakers Detailed? And I was like, oh yeah, that's me. And he's just like, I was randomly searching on Lakers stuff, and I like happened to see this, and I was just like, yo, I think this is a guy that plays at the same gym that I play on Wednesday nights. And so it was very cool to like very cool to have that sort of interaction. So we appreciate all the folks that do it. If you see Raj in the building, make sure that you guys can run up on him and ask him for an autograph, because he's really big time now. But we appreciate all the support that we get. We hope you have a wonderful day, whether you're listening to this now or you end up listening to this later. And you want to follow up and watch the rest of it later, you can watch it on YouTube. I'll get it up on Apple and Spotify. And if nothing else, we'll see you in the next one. Take it easy.
Peace.